Remus Lupin, Sirius Black, Peter Pettigrew, False Breath, and the Prisoner of Azkaban by gonzoclock. Chapter 12. The hall goes dead quiet. James opens his mouth and closes it again. He's completely at a loss here. Then Padfoot lets out a little growl, and James turns down to look at him, brow furrowed. He gently swats the dog's nose. No, Snuffles, we're not doing that anymore, James says. Padfoot whines, and James wags a finger. I'll tell you later, but you need to be cool, remember? We're cool now. Then James looks up at where Snape, holy shit, and Lily, holy shit, are frozen. Pete is watching James, likely planning on following his lead. Keeping that in mind, James smiles at the two despite his racing heart. So, 1993, huh? What are you doing here? Snape growls. James feels his smile go a bit wooden, then thinks of Wolfsbane and relaxes again. Same as you, I expect. The loss of a stone, yeah? Evans, did you ever get around to talking to Remus about blood magic? Lily shakes her head after a moment, still looking wary. No, I just started reading up on it. Ah, Jim says. We must be a little later along then. The lads ended up going behind my back and dabbled in some blood magic, which then landed us in this predicament. They asked for your advice. Apparently you're a right genius at it. I told you it was a terrible idea, Snape mutters to Lily. Lily elbows him and he scowls, rubbing his arm. So where are you headed? James asks, desperate to break the growing awkward silence. We were on our way to the tower, Hermione replies. We were going to figure out what to do after that, with everyone. James raises an eyebrow, then nods. Not the headmaster? Pete asks. Padfoot whiffs, apparently in agreement with Peter. His tail is now wagging furiously as he's looking at Lily, and James nonchalantly reaches down and grabs the dog's scruff. Lily probably wouldn't appreciate getting jumped on by a giant black dog, regardless of the fact that he's been mourning her death for the last 12 years. No, Snape and Lily say, looking furious. No, James agrees, smothering the wave of rage swelling up inside him at the reminder of Dumbledore. We've been over this, Pete. The headmaster is a manipulative bastard, and we hate him. Lily and Snape look at James, baffled. You can't blame him. Before Harry, he'd thought the headmaster had hung the moon. Ah, fuck. Harry. Why do you have a dog? Hermione asks, momentarily breaking James out of his rising panic. Tell you later, James says, resolutely squashing any and all feelings he has about what's happening right now. Let's get to the tower. Let's get this over with. The sooner this is settled, the sooner James can hide in his bed and freak the fuck out. Lily and Snape are whispering furiously as they finish making their way over to the tower. If James strains his hearing, he can just catch what they're saying. What are the chances that this is all just some stupid prank? Snape whispers. I'll kill them myself, Lily whispers back. I'll help you, Snape responds. Well, James would help them too. This would make for a supremely fucked up prank, even for the marauders. They stop in front of the portrait, and Snape looks curious despite himself. James takes a deep breath, looking down at Padfoot, who's gone still. Are you sure this is a good idea? Pete asks, following James's gaze. James thinks he sees Hermione get a gleam in her eye, but decides not to worry about that right now. Instead, he shoots Pete a weak smile, then turns to look back up at the portrait. Dragon jests, James says. The portrait swings open. James pokes his head in, then relaxes as he sees the common room is empty. We have a few days yet before term starts up again, so it's not a surprise that the room is empty, but it is a relief. In, come on, in, James says, ushering Padfoot through. Pete climbs in after, then Hermione, Lily, Snape, and finally Fred bringing up the rear. Say, Fred, James says, a thought striking him. Do you happen to know if Scabbers is around? Fred looks confused. Probably with Ron. Why? Jim shrugs. No reason. Just I don't want Snuffles here eating him. Fred relaxes and nods. I'll let Ron know to keep Scabbers in their room. Wait, should I go get them or wait? James hesitates, eyes darting over to where Lily is standing next to Snape. Fred shoots him a sympathetic grimace, and James responds with a grateful smile. Yes, go get them, Hermione says confidently. Harry especially. Fred turns to her. Wait, hang on, did you do this on purpose? Hermione raises an eyebrow at the boy. I have no idea what you're talking about, she says. Fred looks like he wants to say something else, but he then shakes his head and turns to go up the stairs. James narrows his eyes at the girl, who gives a little nonchalant shrug. We're talking about this later, James says, pointing. I'm not sorry, Hermione retorts, folding her arms. Harry told you about the blood protection, right? James stares at her for a long moment, then back at Lily. Ah, is all he can think to say. Hermione is a genius. He knew that already, but he hadn't realized just how terrifying she has the potential to be. What? Lily asks, confused. I feel like I'm missing something. You are, Peter says. You could explain, Snape says through gritted teeth. Jim says. He hears the sound of footsteps coming down the stairs and looks down as he feels Padfoot press into his legs. Oh boy. James looks back up at Lily. Whatever happened, it changes nothing, and I don't want you to feel pressured, and I'm so sorry. Lily is staring at him, open-mouthed. Snape looks like he wants to strangle James to death, which is actually nothing new. Says the voice of Remus Lupin. What? Then there's a big black blur hitting both Padfoot and James is very suddenly caught in the middle of a dogfight. James distantly registers Pete running up to the deathly pale Moony and Hermione and Snape and Lily awesomely backwards. However, he's less worried about that and more worried about keeping his two dogs from killing each other. James flails, trying in vain to get a good grip on one of the two dogs. The bigger one isn't actually fighting back, but the other is out for blood. James watches as young Padfoot goes straight for Old Man Padfoot's throat, and does the only thing he can think of. He shoots his arm out, and Padfoot's jaw closes around his forearm instead. James holds his arm firm and grits his teeth. He can feel blood starting to drip down his arm in rivulets. He looks at Padfoot and sternly says, That's enough of that. Now, are you going to let us explain, or are you going to go crazy again? Padfoot unlatches from James's arm and transforms into a furious Sirius, blood running down his chin. Sirius is crouching, poised to spring. James goes to stand up as well. Out of the corner of his eye, James sees Hermione draw her wand and train it on Old Man Padfoot, quick as a whip. Snape and Lily are pressing up against the wall, Lily holding tight to a white-faced Snape's arm. Remus has sunk to the floor, and Pete is gently patting his back. Get away from me. Get away from him, Sirius growls. Let me at him. No, Sirius, James says. You don't get to decide whether or not to forgive him, Sirius bursts out. Padfoot lets out a little whine. Whatever he said, it's a lie. He's just manipulating you. Let us explain, James tries again. It's not what you think. Sirius wipes his mouth on his arm, then looks down at where James is holding his injured arm, close to his chest. Sirius grimaces, but then his face turns stormy again. Explain, he snaps. It was me, Peter pipes up. Sirius turns back to look at him, amused. Old Man Pete, Peter continues. He pulled one over all of us, on you guys. Hermione lets out a little gasp, then runs up the stairs in the direction of the boys' dorms. For some reason, James turns his attention back to Sirius. Hermione lets out a little gasp, then runs up the stairs in the direction of the boys' dorm for some reason. James turns his attention back to Sirius. Sirius has turned to look at Peter, a feverish gleam in his eyes. He lets out a hysterical laugh, and James winces. They maybe could have planned this better. To be fair, though, James had been rather thrown off by Lily and Snape's sudden appearance. Speaking of, Lily is watching this go down with bright eyes and a furrowed brow. Snape is pressed so hard into the wall, James is willing to bet he's trying to get Hogwarts to swallow him up. Sirius stops laughing and wipes away a tear. No way, not you, Pete. It could never have been you. Don't be stupid. Trust me, Peter says flatly, face blank. It could have. Ask James. James feels his heart break a little, but he closes his eyes and nods as Sirius turns to look at him. Makes more sense than it being you, Pads, James whispers, hating himself for it. Peter nods grimly. Sirius sinks to the floor, head in hands and shaking. Padfoot creeps up to him, whining. Sirius doesn't do anything as Padfoot wiggles his way into Sirius's arms and starts licking his arms and face. Merlin, that's annoying, Sirius says, pushing Padfoot away after just a moment. Is it always that annoying? Yes, Remus, Peter, and James all say at the same time. Remus has, at this point, stood up, leaning just the slightest bit on Pete. He looks over at Lily and Snape with a grim expression on his face. Snape is matching his gaze with a scowl, while Lily tries shooting Remus a weak smile. Sirius, meanwhile, is now absently patting Padfoot on the head, looking at him like he doesn't know what to think. James isn't completely sure he's noticed Lily or Snape yet. James? Lily whispers from the corner. She's sounding a bit panicky all of a sudden. What did you mean earlier when you said that stuff? James turns to look at her, resolutely ignoring the pain pulsing through his arm. Sirius lets out a little gasp. Yeah, there it is. Lily isn't looking over at them, though. Instead, she's staring over at the staircase, green eyes wide. James follows her gaze, then feels his stomach bottom out. There, walking down the stairs behind Hermione, Ron, and Fred, is Harry, matching Lily's green-eyed stare with his own. James thinks he hears Snape curse under his breath as he catches sight of the younger boy, and can't blame him in the slightest. In fact, he swears too as he watches Harry continue stiffly down the stairs, a grinning old man Peter Pettigrew holding Harry's upper arm tightly in one hand and pressing a wand into the boy's neck with the other. The end of the chapter. How could he? I completely forgot this happened. I love to say, oh, I read this one. I know what happens. I just don't, evidently. I should reread things more often. Evidently, I don't remember them. We got some fun little notes. Someone should have probably gone with Fred to make sure he didn't accidentally say something like, James has a big black dog with him, so Ron, you need to keep Scabbers in here. But what can you do? Yeah, no, as soon as Fred was going up, I was like, oh, that's a bad idea, but oh well, too late now. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know. I don't think there's anything else to say. Bye.